Welcome. My name is Jeff, and I'll be your host and guide for the next half hour, roughly, as we explore a couple of really exciting topics that I am personally looking forward to hearing about, and hopefully you are as well. Let's jump into tonight's topic. We've got three exciting speakers new to the AgileTO family, so welcome to all three of you. Rodney, Sailesh, and Roselyn, we're going to start with the three of you. And so, Rodney, I'm actually just going to toss it over to you to introduce us to Agile leadership.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Hello, everybody. I'm Rodney. Nice to see everyone here today. Very happy to be sharing some of my Agile leadership ideas with y'all in this forum. So I'm sure you've all been there. You're working in a self-proclaimed Agile organization, practicing some form of Scrum, Kanban, SAFe, what have you. All seems pretty good, except you feel this kind of glass ceiling, an agile glass ceiling, where the upper echelons of the organization, the managers, directors, VPs, and up, just don't speak the same language as the agile teams. They seem to have a completely different way of working. In fact, often completely opposite way of working than the agile teams, right? Full of anti-patterns. And what you end up with is this, at best, the organization hits a plateau when it comes to agility, where the benefits of an agile way of working is not translating to any real benefits for the business, and definitely not to their end users and customers. Worst case, it creates frustration, confusion within the organization, incompatibility between leadership and the agile teams, generating a ton of waste and friction in the value delivery process. So today I picked out 5 critical success factors to effective leadership in an agile organization to share with the group. So leaders, future leaders out there, don't create impediments, or worse yet, become an impediment themselves in the value stream. So what I usually see is that leaders and senior leaders simply do not have or have not learned what agile really is, assuming incorrectly that agile is for my teams and my teams only, and not for me. So firstly, people in leadership and senior leadership positions have to really understand what agile means. There's so many dimensions to it, right? It's not just doing Scrum. Leaders have to go and learn it. They have to get it so that everyone in the org, top down, bottom up, can quote unquote speak the same language. Upon taking that time to learn what agile is, leaders need to realize that they too need to be agile. They're part of the equation. It's as much applicable to them as it is to people directly delivering value to our customers, right? Second, it's about putting the agile ways of working into practice as a manager or senior leader. Leaders need to interface with their agile teams in a frictionless manner. Like, speak that same agile language as their teams, and work in a way that is compatible with their way of working. For example, if teams use backlogs and boards and use story points to estimate work, then run the business that way, right? Instead of asking people to do status reports, maybe try and go see the team's backlogs and boards, and if you really need to know where things are at, right? Use agile reporting methods that naturally come out of the agile teams anyways. Plan and forecast with an understanding that teams don't really plan out all the details for things that are months out, and therefore cannot commit to precise timelines. Don't force your teams to commit to things that are far out milestones and delivery dates, right? Next, practice an agile style of leadership. And what do I mean by that, right? So leaders, agile leaders, need to be empowering those closest to the work, trusting their teams so that the best decisions can be made quickly. Co-creating instead of command and control, right? And many say to create a flat org, but I find that word creates an incorrect understanding. It's not so much about, it's really not about eliminating hierarchy. It's about increasing freedom when we talk about empowerment, right? Servant leadership. Just because leaders are higher up in the organization hierarchy doesn't mean that they can't serve the people under them. Agile leaders need to focus on setting their teams up for success, enabling them, removing impediments for them, clearing the path for their teams to succeed. And fourth, along those same lines, leaders need to mind their people more than, at least as much as, minding the work itself. A leader's greatest asset is their people. After all, they're the ones that get the job done, right? We talked about empowerment earlier, but we can't talk about empowerment without speaking to people's motivation. The two things have to go hand in hand. If people and the team's motivation isn't there, empowerment isn't going to translate into all that much. So by far, the most difficult part of an agile leader's job is to get people to want to instead of have to. So a good proportion of any leader's time needs to be spent on their people, the org's culture, and team development. This element, unfortunately, I find is often not well executed by most leaders and senior leaders. And lastly, if team members are motivated, leaders are empowering them to get the job done, then it is absolutely critical that leaders also set clear objectives and goals for them as guardrails for their creativity and motivation to come to fruition, and thus ultimately achieve the results that the leader wants to achieve for the organization. Leaders have to establish that vision, maybe use objectives and key results, OKRs, as a tool so teams know the direction that they have to march towards. It has to be clear. Like, it has to land with the people that you're leading. And those, I find, are the things that have helped me to be successful so far as an agile leader. I hope you guys find those points useful and perhaps be able to put some of those things to use in your journey. So thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. My contact info is here. Please reach out, connect, and share ideas. I think that's what these meetups are all about. Keep the conversation going. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rodney. Just a quick question here. I mean, you actually are a senior leader in an organization, and you're helping build that bridge between technology and business teams to help them maximize the value that they deliver. I know you earned a PMP years ago. You've led waterfall style projects. You've since earned your certified Scrum professional designation. So you're actually talking about your own personal experiences when you talk about some of these things, right? This isn't theoretical.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to kind of come here and share my personal experiences. It's kind of, I'm offering what is tried, tested, and true, at least on my part. So definitely, yes, speaking from experience here.
That's really cool. I suspect there are a lot of questions as to how do we actually do those things. And so thank you for sharing your contact information. We've just posted that in the chat as well for everyone. And so if folks have a little bit, are looking for a little bit more on how you've managed to bring some of these things into your organizations, I'm sure they'll be able to reach out. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jeff.
Up next tonight, because we are having a third person here, we've got Sailesh. He considers himself both an agilist and a technology evangelist. He's got a real passion for helping organizations make progress with their agile transformations. And with over 10 years of experience in software development, really focused on agile and lean approaches, he's got a nice story to share with us as well. So Sailesh, over to you, sir, and welcome.
Thank you for that, Jeff. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning or good afternoon if you're dialing in from different time zones. First and foremost, thanks to AgileTO for having me here tonight. Today, I'm stoked to talk about how to begin or approach the agile transformation for your teams and for your organization, especially in the post-pandemic times. Let's quickly stop and reflect what pandemic has done to all of us. It has affected the individual lives to a larger extent. It has made us to rethink how we work and how we collaborate in this hybrid world. And also it has affected numerous business sectors that include food, healthcare, education, gaming, and many more. So the strategies and the tactics that we use for the transformation in current world won't be the same as before. So we need to approach it a bit differently, and also we need to see it through a different lens altogether. So before even we introduce Agile or Lean to your teams, the most essential thing that we could do is formulating the change case. So this is basically understanding what are we trying to bring to the organization and what are we trying to achieve as part of this transformation. So this could begin with an initial conversation with relevant stakeholders at all levels across the organization to know the pitfalls and the pain points the organization is currently facing. So this definitive understanding would help us to deep dive into the customer insights and also to understand how to meet the customer needs constantly in this disruptive, volatile, and uncertain environment. And also, this change case needs to be futuristic. So that means when you're beginning your transformation, you're just basically laying a foundation for your business. So you could just ask a question to yourself: would this transformation be scalable, reliable, performable, even after a couple of years? As it because it's directly proportional to the business ROI. And also comprehending the culture values of your organization is also critical to the business. I strongly feel that culture transformation and agile transformation, they are not different. They are interlinked. So I feel that agile team could have a healthy relationship with the people and culture team of the organization so that they could bring the transformation more intuitively and seamlessly, both from agile and culture standpoint. Moving down the chart, you see system of work. So this is where teams will be exposed to formal Agile 101 training, and all the great value streams would be formulated. And within value streams, you will find different work stages and work types. So I would like to go over a couple scenarios here. Scenario one, being framework agnostic. Try not to standardize one framework for all your teams. Rather, you can give the flexibility and the leeway to all your teams just by assessing the team's dynamics, mission, and the nature of the team. Let's say you got 10 different teams in your digital realm, right? And the first 5 teams could be quite iterative and incremental in nature. So you could suggest them to go with Scrum as a framework. And the other 5 teams would be focusing more on the repetitive and redundant work. So in this case, you could suggest them to go with Scrumban or Kanban. Scenario 2, as this company scales, they always go ahead with high-end scaling frameworks, namely SAFe or a discipline agile delivery. So these are all great frameworks. There's nothing wrong with the framework. Most organizations, they find success with these frameworks, and some organizations, they find it so hard and they fail terribly at it. The reason is because when an organization is trying to mimic a framework as is, they get stuck with problems. Things become too prescriptive, and they invest tons of time and effort to fix the problems rather than focusing on the actual scaling. So what would be the ideal solution here? So the solution in this current state could be an org could design their own agile operating model or their own agile architecture just by taking the essentials from different frameworks and also based off of their own organizational structure and design. So this way, it would help the organization to fix the problems when they encounter, and also they could easily inspect and adapt via rapid experimentations. So what's next? So you could not yield all the desired outcomes just by having the system of work in one single flow. So again, this could be segmented into 2 parts. The former of would deal with the upstream or the discovery. So this is where the high-level initiatives would be designed. And again, initiatives would be broken down into features, and features again broken down into individual business units, aka stories. So there's lots of mechanisms available to enable discovery phase. So you could go with opportunity canvas as a mechanism, impact mapping, discovery tree, and etc. The latter half of the flow talks about the downstream or the delivery phase. So this is where the engineers would be developing the stories, testers validating it, and product managers collecting the insights once the feature is live on production. So together, upstream and downstream form the portfolio for your org. At the end of the delivery, metrics is a thing. So what is metrics? It's always important to measure the work that you delivered as it directly relates to the quality. So the purpose of collecting data is not to become a data-driven organization, rather becoming data-informed. So what it means is when you're presenting a set of data to your team, the team should be able to draw a story. They should be able to find the opportunities, and they should be able to pinpoint the pain points so that they could bridge the gap themselves. Remember that these pain points should come from the team so that we could fix it easily rather than it's coming from the agile folks. The other purpose of collecting metrics is also not to improve the data, but just focusing the steady progress of your workflow. And also, you can make a statement explicitly clear to your team that data is used on the process, not on the people, as Agile is mostly emphasized on the people side of things. You have lots of metrics in the market these days: throughput, mean time to recover, and there's other DevOps related metrics as well. You don't have to impose all sorts of metrics at once. Start small, just like start with lead time, for example, and see how it benefits your team. Then just try out with different variations. For example, lead time with throughput, and see how it benefits your team. Just like have one or two metrics that make most sense to your team and to the organization. So this flowchart holistically talks about how you begin the transformation until the metrics collection. So you could just use this flowchart as a reference point, and you can add your own ingredients and flavors to enable your organizational transformation. However, the businesses would be very keen to know how these initiatives that come out of system of work benefit their business goals. So this is where you bring OKRs into the picture. If you look at this map, you see two larger buckets. One is strategic planning, which is a larger bucket to your left, and operational planning. So within strategic planning, this is where strategic priorities will be set by the leadership team. And down below, tactical priorities will be set within operational planning. So the OKRs of strategic planning would be cascaded down into operational planning. If you just look at this map on a whole, the whole organization will be working towards one common goal. So that's why you can just like move the needle for your business. And to your right, within the operational planning, you see a sample flywheel, how you could use OKRs to system of work and how system of work could be tracked or measured by using a lightweight roadmap. So to conclude, to make your agile transformation simple, make your agile simple, fluidic, and lightweight. Again, thanks for your time, and thanks again for the opportunity.
Thanks, Sailesh, for the overview. Really appreciate it. And once again, you know, I know these are quick talks, but it's a great approach and a great line of thinking that goes into it. I suspect there's a lot more detail in all of these that could certainly go into it. But I really do appreciate the overview. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Our last speaker of the evening is Roselyn. Roselyn is a business consultant, empowerment and transformation coach. And in her spare time, because that's not enough, she also is a real estate investor because, you know, why not? In 2020, she actually started her own consulting company providing services to small business owners in project management, quality improvement, and servant leadership. She has a Bachelor of Applied Health Information Science from Conestoga College and is a project management professional. She's joining us tonight to talk about a topic sort of near and dear to her heart, a little bit different than technology and agile in technology, but how do we apply resilience with a growth mindset? So Roselyn, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you all today around cultivating resilience with a growth mindset today. So to set the stage, I want us to consider an opportunity for growth. As we all have been impacted by COVID-19, sweeping in and injecting massive amounts of uncertainty and fear into our lives, the lingering after effects continue. According to the World Health Organization in March of this year, the pandemic has triggered a 25% increase in the prevalence of anxiety and depression. I personally have been experiencing this, and I have seen lots of people I care about have dramatic shifts in one, if not all, areas of their lives. Friendships have suffered or grown stronger. Romantic relationships have left partners distant or confused. Skyrocketing home prices and cost of living increases, personal feelings of isolation and fear, and an unexpected unlimited stash of emergency toilet paper we all thought we would never have. COVID-19 has changed the way we live, engage in the world, and the people within it. If we know for sure that the only constant in life is change, then why do we have such a difficult time with it? And what exactly can we do when so much of life seems like it's happening to us and changing in ways we never could have anticipated? Well, the first thing we can do is take a look at our mindset. A mindset is an invisible, intangible, and subjective filter we apply to thinking about pretty much everything that touches our lives. We can have different mindsets about all kinds of different things: environmentalism, politics, and lots more. There are a number of different definitions of what a mindset is, but in a nutshell, it's our established set of thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs. These thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs shape our habits and eventually become our actions and experiences in life, which become a cycle. So let's consider someone I know's experience for a minute. It's their third week working from home. They've started their Zoom call at work and their children have started screaming downstairs. The children's movie on Netflix has been zapping the bandwidth and disconnecting the video from their call. The normal dinner they would usually have on that Wednesday evening was pizza, but they're a little afraid because rumors about COVID-19 is that they're foodborne. Or maybe you had a similar experience to mine, where I was incredibly isolated working from home, petting my kitty cats and had the TV on in the background to keep me company. Both of these situations can lead to a typical anxious thought pattern. I can't do this, I'm not prepared for this, and you start to feel a little helpless to the circumstance as it relates to your new reality. These thoughts can eventually become your beliefs, your attitude, and eventually lead to your actions and ultimately define your life experience. In this case, you're probably very frustrated and overwhelmed with the significant changes to your external life. Not to mention the fact that your normal speech is only about 100 to 150 words per minute, but your self-talk comes in at about 800 to 1400. You can see very quickly that you can very easily become your own bully or your greatest ally. So now that we have a good understanding of what mindset is, let's talk a little bit about the agile mindset we all know and love. Some definition of the agile mindset are as follows. An agile mindset helps easily overcome obstacles and not get stuck when unexpected events happen. An agile mindset is about creating and responding to change in uncertain and turbulent environments. What is fascinating to me as agilists is that we already have an idea of the mindset we need to manage this kind of uncertainty, but we may only apply it to one very specific area of our lives, at work. When we're at work and we discover a problem within our team or a project, we work through it because as agilists, we have come to expect that as the norm. At work, we are surrounded by people with this mindset, or we're trying to help people cultivate this mindset in our teams so we can work better together. We have a culture and an environment that supports this kind of thinking. So what do you do when you're at home and you don't have these kinds of supports? This is where the growth mindset comes in. In my opinion, the growth mindset is the foundation of an agile mindset. A growth mindset allows you, in good or bad situations in your life, to look at it from the perspective of, I can change things for the better here, instead of the fixed mindset where things are very black and white. You are either a great presenter or you crumble under pressure. I'm either fantastic at running Zoom meetings or I'm not. And your potential is predetermined and your abilities are unchanging. If you can adapt and apply this growth mindset to your partnership, your friendships, the interest in snowboarding you've had since you were a kid but you never tried, you can begin to transform your own life by focusing more on what you can control versus what is outside of your control, which is a large contributor to anxiety and depression. So this is how you can do this practically. Remember how I talked about how mindset is a cycle that starts with your thoughts? The growth mindset can be adopted by disrupting and pivoting your thoughts and replacing them with more empowering ones. For example, before I applied to become the head badminton coach at Conestoga College at the ripe age of 23, I thought, you have no business doing this. You were too young to know enough to teach other people your age how to play. This is exactly what my fixed mindset voice sounds like. But knowing this, I disrupted the thought and pivoted it to a more empowering one. The thought being, if I don't apply, I'll never know. And if I'm given this opportunity, I will continue learning like the mentor and the player I was previously and have more experience as a result. My age does not define my ability to coach. I ended up applying, and I was the coach for 3 incredible years. During that time, I achieved my life goal of watching one of my athletes win gold at the national level and received the OCAA Coach of the Year award, as well as being nominated for the CCAA Coach of the Year. Despite my fears and concerns originally, I pushed forward and did way better than I ever could have imagined. If I would have believed my original fixed mindset voice, I never would have accomplished any of those things. So if you can disrupt and pivot your thoughts into new ones, the amazing part is it becomes your new normal. Scientists have actually shown we can literally rewire our neural pathways that regulate our emotions, thoughts, and reactions. This means you can create little highways in your brain that can lead us to more compassion, gratitude, and joy instead of anxiety, fear, and anger. As the saying goes, the neurons that fire together rewire together. This saying is important because you can change your experience in life by adopting a growth mindset. To summarize, if we can take the time to learn what our fixed mindset voice sounds like, disrupt and pivot negative thoughts to more empowering ones, we can cultivate a growth mindset. Because the growth mindset allows us to focus on what we can control, we can cultivate greater resilience in situations where uncertainty and fear are at their greatest. Thank you so much for your time, everybody. I know there's a lot kind of jam-packed in there, but I really hope that we can connect afterwards, and feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn or my email.
That's great, Roselyn. Thank you so much. I did have one quick question, if I could, if I could just do that before we go. I know there are some books that you have that you've learned a lot from, and that you reference. So we've actually created a link for those, and we'll throw those in the chat for folks to grab onto that link. And we'll also put your contact information in there, because there is a lot of stuff that you did say, and I'm sure there are people that would like to learn more. But one thing that I'd love to ask you about is actually about that interrupting thought. What do you do when you find yourself in that situation and you're having trouble coming up with that thought to interrupt your current thought patterns?
Yeah, so the first thing is don't get too excited about going into the empowering thought to replace it with. Celebrate your disruption first. So if you're mindful enough to know that you're going into a negative spiral or a bad thought pattern, if you're cooking dinner and you're like, man, I'm a really bad cook, I don't know if I can do this. If you can immediately just go, wait a minute, this thought isn't that helpful. I'm kind of becoming my own bully. If you can celebrate your disruptions first, you'll be able to figure out more empowering ones afterwards.
Nice. I like that. And as we said, there is a lot of information in here and a lot thrown at us very quickly as listeners on this. So one of the nice things is that these are recorded, and you can visit the YouTube channel for the AgileTO group, and you can watch this and all of the other recordings. The link for that is being posted right now in the chat. You can click on that and follow it. Please feel free to check out this and other videos. This one will be up in a couple of days. But there are lots of other videos there as well. Huge thank you, Rodney, Sailesh, Roselyn. Thank you very much for your talks tonight. Really appreciated the opportunity to hear from you, hear from your experiences, hear from your perspectives. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.